Okay. Welcome everybody to Crafty Crows tonight. We've got a wonderful evening for you. First of all, we've got our very own Carol Sheppard, who will be doing a reading before the break. And then we've got Saili Katebe tonight, which I'm really thrilled about. And you know, he's wonderful. So I know you're going to thoroughly enjoy yourselves. And we've got a big open mic. We've also got a reserve. Whether we will actually get any of the reserve in, we'll have to see. I'll do my best, okay? And the order of the night has gone on to the chat, so you can tell what's happening. So, I think I'll start off with a poem, and then we'll get going on the open mic. I've just got to find it first, excuse me. Okay. I've brought something out of mothballs. I haven't read this for a long while. For those who have heard it before, apologies, but hopefully you'll enjoy hearing it again. Poems should be like pictures, viewed more than once. It's called Hidden. Martin stands in his pajamas, hidden behind his net curtains. Like an old maid twitching lace, he watches the world pass by his window. He's become a recluse since his mother died. He has a computer and now shops online. Groceries are delivered to his doorstep. Outside, the world looks normal, but Martin's not sure. There was a shift last Friday afternoon when he saw Jamal Patel at the corner shop spill a box of apples. They rolled out into the road under the wheels of passing vehicles. Jamal beat his chest, ran in between the cars, risking his life to save fruit. Since then, Jamal appears shifty, watching everything as though something else may happen. Martin spends his time watching crime films and thrillers on TV. He daydreams that he is a spy left out in the cold, Bond-like. A martini stirred, not shaken, blood chilled at the thought, as though on the rocks. Opposite his house, Mrs. Grimes opens her front door to let in the cat that's been mewing for hours. The cat runs past her. She steps out onto the path to pick up her newspaper, looks both ways anxiously, goes in and quickly slams the door. In his dreams, Martin is in love with Mrs. Grimes. She appears younger and prettier, though still like a Valkyrie singing. In his head, Martin hears Wagner. He walks up her path, sees the number 69 on the wall, wonders if it's significant. Mrs. Grimes opens the door, blowing kisses, and he runs past her. Inside, candles are lit on a table set for two. She puts her arms around him, and he feels saved. Sometimes, Martin wonders what reality is. The edges are so often blurred. Returning to his breakfast, he butters a piece of burnt toast. Today, he will watch old movies. His shopping will be delivered at 12 o'clock. He's bought apples. Occasionally, he fantasizes about Jamal and Mrs. Grimes having an affair, bodies writhing. Unlikely, but in your head, anything can happen. As Martin searches for the TV remote under a pile of dirty washing, he thinks perhaps he should write down these scenarios. But then he finds it, shrugs his shoulders, sits down on the sofa, and presses play. Thank you. Okay, so let's start the night off, and now we're going to go straight on with our open mic, starting with Trevor, please. Big hand for Trevor Valentine.
Okay, thank you. And first of all, Catrice, sorry to hear your news and sending all our love to you. So, yeah. This was written not by me, but my lovely mother-in-law. I was so lucky to have her as a mother-in-law, and I loved the things that she wrote. She used to be quite a cornerstone of the WI in the time. I actually discovered this after she died, and it wasn't quite finished, so I finished off the last verse for her, if she doesn't mind. And it was written about her life sort of growing up. Sorry, I don't think it's her life, but anyway. It's called Our Street. I lived in this neighbourhood all of my life, as babby, as school kid, teenager, wife. Mother, then grand, now widow, worse luck. So it looks like with this bit of England I'm stuck. I've always worked hard, but I've had some good fun. Nowadays, though, there ain't a lot to be done. So I sits in the park on the green painted seat, because it's just opposite the end of our street. And I gets to think of the days that have been, of the people I knew and the things that I've seen. Number 2, that's the house where I gave my first cry. There were 6 born before and 3 more by and by. So they don't hang no flags that, though mother was glad. But the Queen Arms has opened and folded in dad. Still they managed to rear us through sickly and pale, with mum at the wash tub and dad at the ale. So we never went hungry, though never full fed. We ate in 2 sittings, slept 3 in a bed. The street was our playground, for Marleys and tops, for mothers and fathers and robbers and cops. At the end of the road, on that piece of wasteland, that's where the old national school used to stand. Hideously ugly and smelly and dank. Our mouths said our lessons, our minds stayed a blank. We had cuts from the cane and swipes from the rule. It's funny how much I miss that old school. At number 11, so handsome and clever, lived young Johnny Meadows, best errand boy ever. All over town he whistled non-stop, whistling still at the Somme. He went over the top. He never came back, and nor did our Mark. But Pete Barry did, and he lived in the dark. With White Stick to guide him from harm, while number 8's William coped with one arm. That bow-fronted house you can see at the top, that's where Alfred Higgins, the butcher, kept shop. And I mind the days when with basin I queued for the soup that he made from the bones that he stewed. And a penn'orth would mean that a family could cope in those days of no work, no cash, and no hope. At the end of our street, at house 23, we rented our home, me, Percy and me. We had our 3 kids, and it would have been more, but Hitler went power mad and Percy went to war. For 4 years he soldiered, his boots on the tramp. Then came the jungle, the Japs and that camp. They'd be out for a month and then go back in. Out again in a week. Oh, it made your head spin. The kids growing older brought new troubles too. The night that I lay listening out for our Sue, she changed boyfriends fast and the dad did his vest till Bob came along and it was all for the best. So they married quite soon with Sue all in white. 8 months later came babies. That was all right. Joe was always a good boy, kind-hearted and quick. It didn't seem fair that he should fall sick. When polio struck him, the battle he fought saved his life, but left him a leg a bit short. Our Rosie was brainy. She studied like mad to get away from the street and the life that we had. To tell you the truth, she's a bit of a swank now that she's got somewhere high in the bank. Now there are 4 kids, and lucky for me, they live at the blue painted house, number 3. But here back at home, the kids' greatest treat was a party for all of them held in the street. The trifles, the jellies, the ballrooms and good cheer, for everyone knew that VE Day was here. Then later we did the whole thing once more, for G-Day, VG Day had brought us the end of the war. My Percy came home and he wasn't the same chap. He'd sit thinking for hours with his hands on his lap. He once said with a laugh that he'd fought to save the lav in the backyard, the sink for his shave. But by and by he grew normal, and just like our dad, the welcoming Queen Arms soon coddled the lad. But now I sit and remember while life goes around, young folks now and old folks who've never left town. And Per sits here with me while we meet and we greet all the familiar old faces that live in our street.
Thank you, Trevor, and thank you for your mother-in-law.
I didn't credit her. Her name's Diana Farmerlow. So if anybody know any Farmerlows, that's my wife's side of the family. So
okay.
Yeah,
thank you, Trevor. Thank you. Okay. Now I tried to get a message to Jason. Did you actually get it? Yeah, right. Andrew Stillborn's up next, and I think he wants to share the screen. Andrew, where are you? Andrew? No sign of Andrew?
Billy!
I just saw him.
How bizarre.
No, I did. He was just there.
Yeah, he was definitely here just a couple of minutes ago. He must have.
Good, Clive. I'm not imagining things.
Yeah, maybe he had trouble and he went off.
Yeah,
and he's coming back.
Oh no, here he is. Here he is. He's right here. He's here. Stilly.
Stilly, are you there?
He's right there. Stilly.
How weird.
Hello.
Can you hear us, Stilly?
Stilly, can you hear us?
I think there must be a problem. I'm going to move on to Chris Dickinson and then come back to Stilly in a bit. Okay. Chris, are you there?
I am.
Hi, Chris. Welcome.
I'd rather go before Stilly than after him. He's so amazing.
That's true. Okay. If you'd like to read your poem, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a warning here, because this is one about Mum's last day. I've not read it before. Fortunately for us, it was 2 years ago. Out of kilter. The bed hums to a mother's stillness, face sinking in the bank of pillows, a patient willing for her heart to stop. My sister knits intermittently, counts stitches in a baby coat, alert to a twitch, hand or eye, openings, needs we can meet. We heed the lift and sigh of her chest, the spare words, a nod for the gift, a great-grandchild. Hours shrink in chat. She who knew everything, asking, who is the knitter? Frowning, and which one sews? Throws us all out of kilter. In the silence we slipped to scenes when we were fearful and small, inflaming a mother's tongue, curt, volatile, clamped between teeth. Her life of service, the plans cut and dried, put us firmly in our place, thieves of pens, scissors to craft a doll's house from a box, sisters keeping secrets, huddling in dens. Mother sang to a vacuum, tuneless, familiar, a temperate climb for the good, clean fun in our attic, jumpers plumped with cushions, mimics playing mum. We are lulled in the cradle of her ward, hands held in a warm pocket, confined, curtained from other calls, lives stalled. This numbness is not cruel, not kind. Maybe it is limbo, accounting bit by bit for the loss of love we take for granted. In a dumb moment, we tiptoe out. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. That was beautiful. It was very, very poignant. Can you please give a big hand for Chris Dickinson? Silly, have we got you with
Yes,
us?
sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can
Sorry,
hear
I
you
couldn't
now.
hear you before. I think it's because I changed my microphone halfway through.
All
I
right.
really apologise. I stopped and then started, so I will not waste
Okay.
any more time and go straight on. I've tried really hard trying to write lots of poems that are under 3 minutes, and this is as best as I could get. I've never done this one before, so if anyone can tell me what it's about, I'll be very, very grateful. And this is called The Incorrigible Dirigible. The blast inside the cloning lab had many repercussions, not least of all the gruesome deaths of surreptitious Russians, whose motives we may never know. The damage was considerable, but from the flames there rose above a rather large dirigible. The basket which was tied to it, for facts as yet unknown, contained our 6 protagonists, usually upblown. And though they'd not been introduced, their names were most renowned. All 6 were preoccupied by a dire hissing sound. The puncture took up half their minds, the sea below the rest, and the waning scale between them was waxing their distress. And even worse, some hungry sharks urged on their sacrificing, for who should leave to save the rest would need prioritizing. 'Twas Albert Einstein first spoke out, suggesting scientifically, whoever weighs the most should jump. It makes good sense pacifically. But science isn't peaceful, specifically or no, said Buddha, breathing in a bit as he watched the flames below. By his work should a man be judged, said Shakespeare audibly, and by his deeds, quoted Jesus from his biography. An awkward pause then did descend, till Hitler then stepped in. Why are you all looking at me? It is my Zeppelin. A grim predicament indeed, as down the airship drifted, with less than 10 minutes to spare for spirits to be lifted. They each debated who should stay based on their worthiness, till finally agreed upon a plan unchivalrous. The final member of the 6 had not yet said a word, and unaware of who she was, her case had not been heard. But just before this ghastly act, they hadn't planned another. The lady asked the gentleman, how could you? To your mother? Mummy, cried the would-be killers, all gratefully overcome. And even Adolf didn't like to feed the sharks his mum. But how could just one matriarch give birth to such a crew? Clara, Mayer, and 2 Marys, and Mrs. Einstein too. Again, that fact must stay unknown, at least until the end. Why cloners clone the things they clone, I can't quite comprehend. But now, with Mrs. Mum in charge, the stewardship was more balanced, and she ordered all her sons to dump the excess ballast. The clothes went first, and jewellery too, except for pantaloon. Then Mummy finally addressed the elephant in the room. Oh, not my statue of Ganesh, screamed Buddha from his lungs. It's all I've got. He brings me luck. He only weighs 3 tons. But out it went with Shakespeare's books and Hitler's Panzer tank, and all those fishy loaves and wine which Jesus hadn't drank, and upward rose the air balloon, and all might have been swell, except that Einstein had thrown out his atom bomb as well. It solved the problem of the sharks with one enormous blast, and also which of the 6 went first and which went last. And if you're still left irritated by this cloning shit, then try writing your own poem and bother me with it. Thank you very much. 3 minutes.
Oh my
As
goodness.
always, thank you, Silly. That was fabulous.
Brilliant.
Bravo, bravo.
If you haven't met him before, you'll never forget him. Brilliant. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
They say that about serial killers.
Okay. And next up, we have Marilyn Timms. Big hand for Marilyn, please.
Hello. This is the. Can you hear me?
I can, yes, I can hear you, can't see you, that's
Sorry.
all.
Have we got a video on hold?
Yes, no, you're
See me.
fine.
This is the rewriting of an old fairy tale, Riding Hood and the Wolf. The woodsmen have taught her well. Red is a child now only in name. In the Forest Lawn Hotel, she paints a smile, hitches her breasts higher, taps discreetly on a door. She enters, sure of her welcome. Oh, Grandma, what big eyes you've got. Wolf, complacent beneath duvet, sees the flush rising in her cheeks, the faintest tremor in her thighs, the twisting of her delicate fingers, teeth pulling at her lower lip. Oh, Grandma, what big ears you've got. Wolf fine-tunes his antennae, hears the soft intake of breath, the blood pulsing in her throat, the sad sigh of carpet piles smothered by wanton skirts. Oh, Grandma, what big teeth you've got. He feels the shift of sheets as she slides in beside him. Hears whisper of flesh on flesh. His teeth gnaw at her lingerie, ripping and spitting lace, nibble her throat and breast, traverse her stomach, graze the inner softness of her thighs. Oh, Grandma, what big... The knife is heavy in her tiny hand. Red drives one deep and practiced thrust through the pelt above his heart. The wolf feels hot, cold, foolish. Dead paws scrabble in an Arctic waste, leave no footprints in the snow. Red rifles through his wallet. Oh, Grandma, what big bucks you had. Thank you.
Brilliant. A different take on that one. Brilliant. Thank you, Marilyn. Brilliant. And then we go straight on to Howard. Howard Timms, lovely to see you here.
Good to be here.
Would you like to read your poem? Yeah.
Yep. Something rather different. I've switched to something a little lighter. Condolences to Catrice.
Absolutely.
So I found something that might at least make a smile for some people. Catching an STD from a false widow in a greenhouse. Swaddled in tresses of green, dotted with trusses of red, she waits, seductive, daydreaming. Pulled by my nose to hazy, appetizing scent of tomato, I carefully slide open the door. My tender fingers caress each fruit as I lay it with its friends in a growing menage of many. Invisible gossamer thread conjoins my hand to the widow. I wave 3 times to return her to her green leaf shady dwelling, but each time she clambers nearer, she can't resist my attraction, contrives to touch, not my heart, but my hand with a biting kiss, by which she says her cruel goodbye to a male or some other sweet fodder. I shake off that fateful flirt, but scorned woman's fury remains, as venomous germs deep under my skin. Now antibiotics are needed for my spider-transmitted disease.
Thank you, Howard. That was certainly different.
Do be careful in the greenhouse. That's a true story.
Yes.
It laid me up for days.
Thank you very much.
How do we mute now?
Okay, we're moving on nice and swiftly, but I haven't yet made up enough time for any reserve people, so we'll keep going in the hope we might be able to squeeze a couple in. Next up, we have our own Jason Conway, please. Big hand for Jason.
Right, hi everyone. Okay, so this is a little bit hard-hitting. It's called Take My Mouth, and it sparks back to the sins of a colonial past. It also is about the right to peaceful protest, and it's much wider than that. It's the fact that everybody who has a voice has a right to be heard. Tape my mouth and bind my hands, string me up in public execution. A prowling pack stalks, growling, hungry from the scent of scapegoats, baited for rows of toothed gallows, spitting blood in closure. The spectacle is staged, carefully orchestrated by defensive lions, fiercely protecting their shrinking royal reign. They mark their stale territory with a stench of history, a golden rage of savagery and feasting, across open borders to prey upon fresh meat, expand their boundaries, claw their legacy and lick their spoils with pride. Tape my hands and bind my mouth hang me by a string as a pinion swings. Wrinkled elephants thud dry soil, old memories stirred, tall tales celebrated of crushed opposition by the sheer hulk of their imposing world. An unstoppable stampede trampling sacred ground, siphoning watering holes and reveling in rich mud, bathing its wealth, the fat of others' land. You left dust clouds for thirsting mouths, boneyards for those charged in your wake for the sake of your intentional, unquenchable taste. Steering by raged bulls, embracing their impact in displays of maddening power. You tape my mouth, bind my hands, string me up for public retribution, but my voice and all our voices will be heard above the compliant herd, and our determined fists will punch the clouded sky. We have the right to defy our historical suppression, demonstrate that right to stir a deafening roar, an uncomfortable fuss, to demand a public confession of calculated oppression, systematically imposed by big cats and the giant shakers and movers that built their futures on forced entry and mold tradition, an empire of blood and bribes, suspicion and convenient lies. No, we will not be tamed. You will not have our trust, no matter how hard you try to silence us.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. Gosh. Right. Have we got Darren Carey here, please?
Yep.
Hi, Darren.
You need to unmute.
Hello there, how you doing?
Hi, well, welcome.
Thank you. I attended an awful lot of meetings in order to control a raging thirst that I once had. But in this poem, the meeting takes place in a castle. It's called Fishbone Castle. On the hill, there's a castle made from fish bones. The moat is dry, sprouting coat hooks. They're setting up trestle tables beside the queue of sinners. A breast pocket radio mast forecasts turbulent truths and heavy storms of electric soup. Heads turn skyward as mouths open in harmony. Please don't stare. These people ache to be someone else. Tenderfoots are trading bottle tops for blushes and searching their pockets for someone else's truth. An astronaut is screaming, "Can't you see? We're headed for the crucifixion. They're nailing the big book to the cross." But no one can hear him. There's a pirouette of jesters discounting horse plumes. Beside a woman selling shoes that will only ever walk you home is a tipsy mermaid barking, step right up, you've got unlucky faces. Unicycle the wall of death without spilling a drop, and tomorrow will never come. Oh, their tumbling stratagems. There's a rumor they're planning on melting down our armor to replace the railings they dropped on Dresden. Protesters waving placards, save the bilingual nightcap. By the doorway, Dylan embraces the faithful, then anoints them with the ash of his poems. There's a man hugging a wall. He's folding miniature paper Buddhas and sliding them behind his dog collar. It's like Jesus, but without the wine. Bubbling up from beneath, a memory of a toddler, face down in a garden pond, gripping lilies and screaming at the sky. Does anyone know why some people embrace a curse? The dungeons are full of laughing policemen burning their own alibis. No one can leave till the sun hurts their eyes. Don't mistake this for a comedy. After the chanting, on the way out, they place a tie around your neck. The accelerant must be sourced elsewhere.
Gosh. Whoa. Thank you, Darren. It was fantastic and fantastical. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, I think we're managing to keep to time, which is good. Next up, we have Pratibha Castle. Hello.
Hello.
Hi,
You hear me
welcome.
okay? Thank you. Thank you for having me again. I'm going to read a poem. It's been working hard recently. It's appearing in my forthcoming pamphlet, A Triptych of Birds and a Few Loose Feathers, published by Hedgehog Press. And it also was highly commended in the Sentinel Literary Poetry Competition, January 2021. And it's inspired by something that my mother said to me in my teens, which I didn't appreciate at the time, but I came to have a different understanding of her comment. The only one who loves you. Spurning words that echoed like a curse, I stuffed a duffel bag with blister packs of pills, Mary Quant minis, fantasies of girls threading daisies in the muzzles of guns, fled to the big smoke. In a bedsit by Kensington Gardens, I massacred steak with the mallet of hate. A year on, turned vegan. Pioneer in '68 of pity for pool-eyed cows, sheep, slate stair place. Feigned compassion. Strove to prove to myself that I was worthy of love. Strutted the nights away with flautists, a harpist whose healer's hands strummed my strings. Drummer, his silk-tipped stroke nimble on the snare. Callous guitarists plucking tunes from out of smoke drifts. Chanted mantras with Ram Dass in a basement in Notting Hill. Dossed in a maid of ale squat, candles, Calor gas stove, the one tap drip, drip in the bog beside the back door. Made out off my head with a sweetheart leaf philodendron. Burnt joss sticks to placate Kali's horde of swords, sweeten the vibes, man. Stench of catlit, no one from the Highgate commune I crashed in next ever emptied. Spooned marmalade from a jar half full, recycled from a skip. Almost believed myself deserving of love, till come the morning I forgot. My heart tenderized with grief, discovering the night my mother died. Love is an ether you can choke or float in.
Wow. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Pratibha. That was beautiful.
Thank you, Josephine.
Beautiful. Okay, now we've come to this exciting moment of having Catrice and Ivor Daniel, who are going to do something, but I have no idea what. So open the stage for Catrice Greer and Ivor Daniel.
Thank you. If we may, we like to screen share so you can read along Ivor's poem, please. Can everyone see that really well? Okay.
Thanks, Catrice.
You're welcome.
This is about some of the events of summer 2020. Those falling dreams. The statue is falling into the harbour. where it will lie, barnacled by controversy. Consider the constancy of gravity in dreams. If it is a falling dream, you always fall. Constancy was a virtue in poetry. I mean, men telling women about the quality of chastity. We didn't often hear her story.
This is something else. That a cop could kneel on a black man's throat while getting paid for it. A salary hung over from slavery. A gift, illegitimate legacy.
When is a watershed? Where is the tipping point? Can you put your finger on something endemic, not always visible?
Did this one escape from a lab, a wet market, or just centuries of social history that grants a cop a license to do that for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, and all the other time to other black people?
Is someone or something falling? If this is a Me Too moment, it's better than a me moment, I suppose. Although we all have some of those. Go fight them on the beaches of Twitter. Can you process the news before it is made? Or go back to a time of innocence and gardening? I'd rather look at viruses than think about these viruses.
See your intentional inability not to learn from history. Take a look at that. Your barnacles are bigotry.
I don't get those falling dreams. Mine are usually more mundane, not even so strange as my waking life.
Like, who was the Commonwealth? Like, who is the Commonwealth?
Like, how do you tell if we're all in this together means what it ought to mean?
See your intentional inability not to learn from history. Take a look at that. Your barnacles are bigotry.
We're all in this together. Like when, if ever, have those words put together been true? And yet today, now, right now, I feel something strong and built of hope coming through.
Coming through.
Ooh. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, that was brilliant. Please, big hand for Ivor Daniel and Patrice Greer. That was chillingly, well, quite unexpected for me. I had no idea. Did you write that, Ivor, or was it the both of you?
I wrote some of it last summer, and then I changed it and added some pieces about 3 weeks ago, and I enjoyed Catrice's readings this year and last year so much that I thought she'd be a wonderful person to kind of do the duet with, and Catrice has been really helpful and really a joy to work with. So thanks, Catrice.
It was brilliant, both of you. Another big hand, please, for Patrice Greer and Ivor Daniel. That was wonderful.
Thank you. It's a beautiful work, Ivor. You've done a wonderful job. Have a good night.
Very good.
Thank you. Best to you, Saili and Carol. Everyone have a good night.
Thank you. And all our best wishes and sympathies go with you, Catrice. Thank you for coming in. Okay, well, now we have got to our first reading. Our very own, the GPS's very own Carol Sheppard, who's been a great support to the Gloucestershire Poetry Society for many years. Carol is a poet, a playwright, and a screenwriter, as well as being a trial novelist, because you've written a novel as well, haven't you? She grew up in Gloucestershire and eventually moved to the Forest of Dean. Being surrounded by nature inspires much of her writing. Carol has had many poems published in various anthologies and magazines. Her poem Sunflowers was exhibited in the Bigger Poetry Garden, Scotland in 2011. Her words, "You are not alone, know that I am close," were taken from her poem entitled The Journey and featured in the project of Earth and Sky in Matson, Gloucester last summer, August, September 2020. The project was created by international artist Luke Jerram. She's also come second in the International Screenwriters Short Film Script Competition in 2008, had a monologue performed in Hawaii in 2009, and a short play performed that year at the Wild Orchid Theatre. She writes a column for the Citizen newspaper, and she's also done a full-length play, The Drop of a Pin, which was produced in 2015 as Only in Gloucester Festival. Her short film script, Enough to Make You Cry, was filmed in 2018, and she had a radio play called Jesus in the Fridge, recorded by Little Wonder Radio Plays, and on. So I'm going to stop there, but Carol, fabulous. So pleased to have you here reading for us. Please, a big hand for Carol Sheppard.
Thank you for inviting me, and I have to say a special thank you to Dean Writers for postponing their AGMs, and I know a lot of them are here supporting me. So actually the first poem I'm going to read is the one Journey, which came from the project of Earth and Sky. So Journey. If we become separated, I will wait for you by the railway track in case you choose to follow the rusted rails, jumping from one blackened sleeper to another as you go. I will dispense dry leaves to fly like moths to find you, send a smoke signal from a dirty diesel engine to mix with the peppermint clouds, startle flocks of resting rooks hunkered in the trees so they take flight, scatter like splashed ink. I will sail flotillas of paper boats down the rivers, light blazing beacons across the hilltops, release bunches of colourful plump balloons, fly flags from high masts, and shoot fireworks into the night sky, so that wherever you are, you will see you are not alone and know that I am close. Thank you. I don't know about other poets, but I get a lot of inspiration as well as nature and the world around me, but people around me. So I'm going to do a few poems about members of my family, not all of it strictly true, so maybe embellished a little. This first one's called Cake. Today I will bake a cake like my mother used to, apron clad, humming in the Arga-warmed kitchen, cat cosy. Views of the flower-filled garden. Cakes more than just mouthfuls of soft sponge, tastes of home, coal fires, warm hugs. I will measure with care, butter, flour, sugar, and fruit. A good pinch of cinnamon, not too much salt. Mix well, but do not overstir. I will place the cake carefully in the oven, middle shelf, turn once. Watch the time ticking so it doesn't burn. Place gently on a wire tray to cool. Later, I will present the cake to my mother, even though she may not recognize me. Maybe the smell will bring her home. The next poem is about my uncle Fred, who was an alcoholic, basically, the nicest alcoholic you could ever meet, but he lost the girl he loved when he was in his 20s, and it changed his life. So this one's called Uncle Fred. We wait by his vegetable patch, my sister and I. Perfect rows of potatoes, heaped soil. He's in the shed, searching out bat and ball, then back, stumbling, smiling. We, the apples of his eye. Nose and cheeks russet red, veins like branches of a tree. Holds a coal shovel and a tennis ball up high. Aha, me beauties, he'd say. Leaving us to set up the wicket, he heads to the shed. The cider fumes waft. He thinks we don't know, thinks his mother doesn't see the scrumpy in the chicken corn, another in the hay. His fuddled hands are on the ball, all three. His vision, a haze of fermented apples. His seam-ripped tweed coat, patched elbows, the one missing button. Now, when I smell cider, it reminds me that he wasn't a bad apple, just that life was not that rosy. It turned sour when his blossom fell from the tree. He drowned the pain. Now, those who know me know that my mum came from Germany, and she grew up and she was a little girl in the war. And when she was about 4 or 5, her family used to have to sleep in the ditches on the farm because obviously the English were coming along to bomb the houses. So, and they obviously were looking for any little bit of light. So this is a poem called Germany 1942. Each night we were woken, dragged from feather beds to hide under hedges, lie in damp ditches, listen for the engine's hiss as grey metal birds flew over us like the flocks of grey lag geese who came each summer to our meadows, migrated in autumn like wedges of silver arrows. English planes came each night, seeking skeins of giveaway lights, clutching fragile eggs. We would roost there all night, awaiting morning's chorus, so we could go back to our downy nests to sleep. Now, this is a poem based loosely on my dad, who loves a good bonfire, but has no idea of health and safety. He's well known for building his bonfires under the electric cables or too close to a wooden fence. So this one's called The Garden Bonfire. I watch from a safe distance as he bends, strikes the match, shielding it from the breeze with his free hand. Yesterday's newspaper struggles to light. Blackened edges curl and shrink. Another match, then a flicker, a hesitation. Adding coarse wood shavings, then split sticks. A long breath makes sparks dance and flicker. A spindly stream of blue haze rises. Embers fade to crumpled paper ashes. I smile as he curses under his breath. Walking to the shed, he swings the door hard on its hinges, returns with tarnished can in hand. I cower as he sloshes petrol over the glowing cinders, which flare like I imagine the depths of hell. He rakes on grass cuttings, wilted rhubarb leaves, potato peelings, cut branches. Leans on his rake and watches satisfied as a hefty plume intensifies and twigs crackle under the compost heap. Sour odours fill my nose, make my lungs heave. Sometime later, when he's gone, I pick up a long stick and poke life back into the dying remains. The last one is, it's about my next door neighbour, but I'll leave you all to work out which bits are true and which aren't. Next door neighbour. I knew it was you. As soon as I heard that shrill whine of the lawnmower, I bet you're wearing that stupid green padded jacket, the one that looks like it belonged to your mother, and she died 2 years ago. And I never liked her either, with her twitching curtains and raised eyebrows, keeping a watchful eye on everything and everyone. And you are just like her, poking your nose into conversations, mowing the grass at 8 a.m. on a Sunday, and parking your car in front of my driveway. And I didn't say anything at first, not as your mother had just died, and I felt sorry for you. But then you kept doing it, and that noisy wooden wind chime, the one that hangs in your tree and keeps me awake all night when it's stormy. And I dream of cutting those strings with scissors, letting each bamboo tube fall to the ground. And I was pleased when my cat shat in your garden and dug up your newly planted onion sets. And yes, it was me that kicked your kitchen waste bin down the drive and the lid broke off. And I should have felt guilty, but I didn't. Not after you blocked me in and went to the shop to get your stupid magazine, probably about trains or toys or something. And I was late for work again. I scratched your car with my key when you left it, parked across my drive again. And this time there was no neighbourhood watch or your mother to see it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carol. They were wonderful poems. I love the way you give these little tiny pictures of life, and you do people so well. It's brilliant. Another really big hand for Carol Sheppard, please.
Everything was true apart from the car key scratching. You wouldn't do that, Carol.
You never know.
Really know her?
Depends how much you upset me. I'm not as nice as I look.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Carol. Where's Jason? We can stop now. You got it? Yes. Okay. Hi. Welcome back to our second half. We're going to open it with our great favourite of ours. Goodness only knows what we're going to get from him. Because it's always a bit of a loose cannon and you never know what's going to happen next. But please going to have a big hand for Clive Ovesman.
Me, a loose cannon? What are you on about? Right, okay, right. This is with apologies to anybody who has heard this because it's only a week old or just over a week old. But I've been performing virtually every night, so a few of you have heard it. So apologies for that. You are going to be it's going to be inflicted upon you again. So here we go. It's called B sharp. In the last few weeks, I've had a spate of spam emails from people who claim to have recently become widowers, who've got to sell the marital home and want to give away their late wife's cherished baby grand piano to someone who would look after it. And this is genuine, by the way. I really do get these emails. Oddly, this person that would look after it, they choose a complete stranger on the other side of the world, which just happens to be me. So this was written in reply to those emails. And as I say, it's called B sharp. I don't know you. You don't know me. But you offered a baby grand for free. I thank you for your generosity. The offer you made so graciously lifted me when life had depleted me. Harsh reality defeated me. Now I read your words repeatedly and I know that you believe in me. Okay, my wife is saying she's leaving me. My hairline is receding. See, I've brewer's droop from too much beer, and last night's curry gave me diarrhea. I'm pretty messed up on all sorts of gear, but a free piano is a panacea. I could maybe embark on a musical career as long as I can play it by ear, but Before I accept it, I need to know, how big will this little baby gran grow? I've got a big house, but I live in the shed, so an adult gran may be a no-no. You can play a good tune on an old piano, but if your only chair is a wheelbarrow, it could all end in tears and sorrow. And have you got a stool I can borrow? Oh, fuck it. I think you're probably a scammer with the brain capacity of a standard spanner. But I am like Dr. David Bruce Banner. I'm coming to get you with a sledgehammer. I'll use it to destroy your piano, and you'll become famous as the bastard who had a B sharp rammed up your anus, followed by other notes which shall all remain nameless. And then, next time you fart, you would fart at least part of Beethoven's beautiful Moonlight Sonata. Thank you very much.
Oh, love that ending. Lovely ending.
Brilliant. Thank you, Clive. I hadn't heard that one before because I haven't been travelling around with you, so I'm really pleased to hear it tonight. Another big hand for Clive Oseman, please.
And I think the funniest line in that is unintentional. When I say my hairline is receding, I mean, look at me, I'm like a ginger yeti.
I was going to say, hardly receding. Okay, moving on. Leslie, yeah, because I changed it, didn't I? Leslie Constable, hi, how are you? You're still muted, Leslie.
Got it. I'm good. How are you? It's lovely.
I'm fine too, thank you. So if you'd like to do your poem, that would be brilliant. Thank you.
Certainly, certainly. I think two people have heard it, so, but yeah, that'll be okay. This one's a love poem, which I don't write often. And this one is called The Snows of August. And this one, I've lived in Mexico for many years, so this one is about an experience. Well, whatever, it's about the whole atmosphere of Mexico. The snows of August. In August, I dream of snow. It is not only me. We dream together the dreams of great heights, silence, stillness, and the moon. There is a darkness in August, the long shadow of summer and the heat, the heat, the heat. Who will remember this time for us? Who will remember? If I dance in your moonlight, my shadow will become the midnight breeze that ruffles your hair. If you sleep, my love, if you sleep. The trees know you, as do I, and guard you as you dream. Their branches dancing and dancing, as do I in the moonlight. Dance with me tonight, my love. How is it from your perch, from your loft, from your distance that you are from me? What do you see from those dizzying reaches? It is not just the snow in August on the roofs. It is something else, something yet to be known that I must trust even though I cannot see, cannot imagine, cannot know it, and maybe never will. I must trust that I will. I must trust or not, or perhaps just simply be, just simply be. Your secrets are the private well of your soul sleeping deep and undisturbed. How quiet I am, as only God knows, and no other. How quiet I am. I will not wake them, nor shake them, nor talk too loud. They that sleep, your secrets, and they shall. Wet seeping through to the inside to rain on us like tears, the snows of August of our dream roof, crying on us, weeping all night while we dream. I feel the cold, but it is not suffering, this rain. It is a blessing. It is our blessing. It is our life. It is life. Dream blindness, dream clarity or madness. How much can we see from this great height, this maddening, sublime, frightening precipice of this dream? Holding onto the side of our cliff in the little house of August with the snow on the roof, holding onto the improbable, the impossible, dizzying architecture of our dreams, yet we do hold on and are afraid and are not afraid at the same time. The architecture only of our God or of our demons, crazy structures we manifest yet do not know, the ocean of private madness in which we all swim, the glimpse of what it was before we were and what it will be when we are not, practicing our death each night, we are afraid without fear. Surely this is God or our guardian angel taking care of us while we sleep. I am weeping with the rains, saturated and numb from the cold and want and want. What is it that I want? Now, always. I have so much. How can I be dissatisfied? Yet I am. I will know certainly sometime, but maybe not now. Desire? I am human. I am deeply flawed, full but empty, always the gnawing, the insistent gnawing, the knowing of nothingness from the inside out, and still the unknowing remnants of fear. I am here to learn. Tonight, right now, I know only that I desire to dance with you in the moonlight and little else. And I am satisfied with the not knowing for now. I'm satisfied for now. I'm crying for August. I'm crying for myself finally. I let myself cry and it comes out ragged and wrong. I'm crying for myself and the weights, the burdens of my love, self-imposed because I love. Is this love, being burdened? Being only that I am burdened by my love? Ragged and wrong, I must know more, but I do not yet. Let me settle into August. Let me release myself as snow that melts upon the touch of the overhot roof of August and rains down upon you as you sleep. And I too shall sleep satisfied at last. That's all.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Leslie. Big hand for Leslie Constable. Okay, going on. Dee Allen. Have we got Dee here? Dee Allen? Sure.
Yeah, I'm here.
Welcome. Would you like to do your poem, please?
Yeah, one poem for 3 minutes.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you.
And to assist me in this endeavor, I'm going to use the share screen feature on the grid on the bottom of this. The poem I'm about to share for y'all with y'all today comes from the anthology book, The Po People Survival Guide Through COVID-19 and the Virus of Poverty. From pages 22 and 23 in the book, this is called Disease Breeds Disease. Strange new ailment giving pneumonia-like symptoms has a ripple effect spanning our globe. Floating on the wind, harm to health, diaspora of microbes, point of outbreak, Wuhan, China. Within a month, fate's transmission, country to country. Bad news travels fast. Reported cases of coronavirus breeds a second disease. One much older, equally contagious, easier to spot the signs. Point of outbreak, the human mind. Modes of transmission, mainstream media, person-to-person contact. Symptoms include stereotyping, side glances, spiteful feelings disguised as jokes, bullying, swearing, unprovoked assaults, avoiding restaurants, insulting internet memes, misinformation, discrimination, lumping together Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, Laotian, and Thai under the heading of Chinese, international travel bans, tendency to run from, duck and dodge, straight black hair, almond-shaped eyes, yellow skin, mistaken notion of Chinese equals virus carrier, and sudden memory loss of the simple fact that Asian lives matter too.
That's it.
Woo.
That poem was called Disease Breeds Disease, about coronavirus and the anti-Asian racism that often comes with it. It is true in 2021 as it was when the coronavirus pandemic first hit in 2020.
It's very sad.
And those poems came from the anthology book, The Po People's Survival Guide Through COVID-19 and the Virus of Poverty, available from Po Press.
Brilliant. If you want to put that into the chat, then people can access it.
I will. From this mic to your ears, I'm D. Allen. Thanks for listening. Happy American.
Thank you so much. That was brilliant. Thank you for bringing up really important issues there. Yes, Asian lives matter too, definitely. Okay, moving on. Have we got Michael, please? Michael Sindler.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm gonna read a recent one. It's called Smaller Cousin for Joy Harjo. Joy tells me I'm the smaller cousin of the sun. I burst with heat. I warm the world with rhythmic beat. I wither away your lengthening shadows that thin into harmless reflection. I am the smaller cousin. I stand close. You can feel me deep in your chest as we embrace, skin of your drum vibrating in harmony. We are an expanding, dancing circle. I am the smaller cousin of the sun. I rise, fall, and rise again. You can count on my return. Every moment apart brings me closer once again. I dry your tears with my breath and wait among the clouds, watching as pure rain washes you clean. I am the cousin of the sun, caressing the curve of the earth, reflecting poetry against the mirror of the moon. Even when you do not see me, I send my message of love from the silvered surface, scythe to circle in rotation. I am the smaller cousin of the sun. I am the brother, sister to your heart. I am the same pounding sound of life and love, the same struggling, triumphant pump, fist-sized and world-encompassing. We are the smaller cousins of the sun. Our warmth, nurturing each other, reaching out our rays, braiding light into threads, a sheet of pure love to lay across the land and sky. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. That was brilliant. I love the repetition of that line. Brilliant. Thank you. We have three more open mic, and then we're going to be on to the best bit of the evening. So next up, we have Juanita Ria. Juanita, are you there?
Hi, everyone.
Hi,
Yeah.
welcome.
I'm here. I'm going to screen share.
Is it lava tonight?
Yeah.
Oh.
Perhaps not that one.
No, not that one. How did that happen? Let's try that again. Okay, so the piece I'm sharing is something I created 10 years ago, soon after leaving my marriage, job, life as I knew it, and threw myself into intense meditation, mostly as an attempt to escape from my body, which I thankfully have come back to, and looking at the pieces, the messages still hold true.
Rhythms. The world resonates.
Sorry, start it again. Rhythms. The world resonates with primordial rhythms. Essence. aura, soul, body, pleasure, body, solid, soul, liquid. Song, music, symphony, rhythm, planet, cosmos, me, Maya, universe, I, earth, space, soul, soil. Kundalini, heat, bubbling, spreading, twisting into a single flame, licking, burning, exploding, trembling, rising, snake-like, twisting, lifting us on wings of ecstasy. One step at a time into love. Love, forever dancing in harmony, endlessly giving and receiving, joining together into a single heartbeat. One breath, always together, in and out. Love, returning us to oneness. Oneness, we are as we have always been, looking curiously out. And within it all, one heart, one body, one mind, one soul. I am all of you, and you are all of me. Together we flow and rise, lifted into love. Together we dance in ecstasy, breathing as one. Yes, we are the dream that we ourselves imagined. Everything, all of it. We are all one.
Thank you, Juanita. Gosh, we are having an experimental evening tonight. You can see that Juanita is also an artist as well as a poet. So once again, a big hand for Juanita. That was brilliant.
That was absolutely sublime. Beautiful.
It was brilliant.
Next up, we have Saili Aston. Hello, Sally. Where are you?
Hi.
I can see you. Hi, welcome. Would you like to do your poem, please?
Thanks. And I think in a small way, mine sort of follows on a little from the previous one as well.
Good.
So mine is Mastering Fatigue. To live with chronic fatigue, you will become a Zen master, for you can only do things in tiny, bite-sized chunks, few and far between. You learn to savor these nibbles of life. You'll meditate, for meditation is a way to rest without burning any energy. You will become a master organizer, making list after list, whittling them down to what you can do in a sensible order, with times to rest. Come evening, when half the list is still undone, you morph back to Zen master and calmly let go of all the rest. But you weren't born a master. Learning these arts was hard, cruel hard. It might look effortless, it isn't.
Brilliant, thank you. That was really a great insight into fatigue. You have some kind of chronic fatigue, do you?
Yeah, yeah, I've had it to some extent for a long time, and then I got flu 18 months ago and haven't got over it. So yeah.
Dear. Yeah, we've had someone in our family with a similar thing. So my sympathies go out to you, but thank you for that poem. It was brilliant. Big hand, please, for Saili Aston. And last but no means least, we've got Simon Alderwick, please. Where's Simon? Hi, Simon. Welcome.
Hello, hello. This one is an old one, you've probably heard it before. It's a cute tornado. My daughter's got one heck of an imagination. You wouldn't believe it. She's got this pet clown, don't ask, that she carries around on a piece of string. But get this, she pretends it's a dinosaur called Bronco. One time, she let go of the string. I had to chase that cloud all around the neighborhood. I was jumping from roof to roof to catch that cloud. One hell of a palaver, I can tell you. My daughter's got these purple boots. They're magic. She walks up the wall and across the ceiling and she's staring a green umbrella. She's pulled the shower head downstairs from the bathroom, placed it on the floor in the sitting room. My own fault for buying a 40-meter long shower cord. And she tap on and she sits in her umbrella and the water starts to fill up down from the ceiling and she floats in her umbrella. One time I came home from work, tired like, opened the door, was knocked back by a surge of noise, swept up in the umbrella. My daughters laughed, "Daddy, let's go." We were swept down garden path, river into ocean, drifted under tea-light skies to the edge of the earth. Just as we were almost lost like car keys down the sofa, my daughter whistled and we were saved by a dinosaur called Bronco. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Lovely.
Oh, lovely, Simon. I always love your quirky, fabulous poems. They're brilliant. Thank you so much. Okay, can we have a big round of applause, please, for all the open mics that we've had tonight? A big hand. And of course, for Carol Sheppard, who's before the break. So a big hand for her. Brilliant. And now we're going to come on to Saili Katebe. And I'm so looking forward to this. I love this guy's verse and the narrative that speaks the truth he sees, the truth he tells us. So I'm really looking forward to this. Saili Katebe is a Zambian-born writer and performer based in the Southwest. Using art to interrogate his curiosity, he plays across disciplines and mediums to understand sound, sense, and connection. He is a BBC Poetry Slam runner-up, a Milk Poetry Super Slam winner in 2019. He was the poet in residence for Brunel's SS Great Britain. That's really an unusual poet in residence, must have been very interesting. Irisi magazine said of Saili's work, "It's profoundly personal, skillful and abundant with narrative and raw feeling." His creative energy is laced with hope and a sense of possibility. He draws on his rich heritage and experiences as a Black person living in rural England to craft stunning poems that are moving and vibrant, both on the stage and on the page. So really, please unmute and give a big hand for Saili Katebe.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the introduction. Can everyone hear me all right? A thumbs up or perfect. So you have the unfortunate experience of being stuck with me for the next 15 to 20 minutes. Let's use the chat box as a means of our crowd participation. If you're a fan of poetry, just pop a 1 into the chat. And let's see how many people are here to share in the word game. A few ones popping in, which is exciting. I will be using the word poetry loosely this evening with a balanced diet of nostalgia and novelty, some old poems and also some newer poems. I've had my head down, reconnecting with the writing process. The first poem I'm going to share is one that always feels relevant whenever I'm stepping up to the page or into a poetic space, because the person I've been speaking to a lot during the last few months or near enough the last year is this guy. Guy's name is Saili Katebe. He's a poet. And this poem is called Man in the Mirror. Man in the mirror, man above my sink, in his Sunday best, dressed for a marathon of ink, rewriting the story set of boxing him in. How brilliant and beautiful could he, having owned my feet for a century, be, having never left on leave from this paradox, gleamed in the silhouettes framed in the name of your Camelot. He is my closest relative in the flesh. I know him, he knows me. I know his seasonal best, his Achilles heel, and if he really will, when the pushing turns punishment, pillage the hill. Arm in arm, we carved karma into pebbles and skipped a quiet sermon on a river of sticks, stoking a metaphor. If I never do as a blooded being does, do I dull my diligence and dissipate love? Is it really a cut from the commonplace buzz if I became him and he came up from the mirrors on the wall? Me and mirror in a war to be much more beautiful than anything before, more than anything before. I am sure of the shackles, the chain and the shame that sustains our battle. Just look at me dancing by my bathroom sink, all salt in my stare, well aware of a body that is challenger and challenged, Excalibur and stone, half mellow, half malice, half melanin and gold. Every one of us is sentient and bold. Every one of us was sent to break a code. Every one of us is circuit breaker code sent to corrode that notion that perfection is the goal. And I don't know if I can love without the love for who I am now. The man behind my pain without his spirit is a man down, man above my sink on his marathon of ink, needs to find his own voice before his journey can begin. Thank you. That is poem number 1, Man in the Mirror. A glimpse into the conversations I have with myself, which I'm learning to find peace with. And I've been writing a lot recently, reconnecting with what it, like asking the questions, leaning into different questions that pop up. And this next poem is one of my newer poems, and it's called Singing to the Choir, which is a provisional name. I don't know what is going to end up being called, but this is kind of exploring my relationship with the church. I grew up in a Christian family, and yeah, this is one of those questions, the questions of God and my faith come up. Yeah, so here is Singing to the Choir. Nice short piece. I lie about forgetting the words and earn my place with the tenors in the back row behind the pillar with the only 2 people I came with. I am the company I keep. My trio of dual citizens in the 2 countries of weekend, Saturday night and the Sabbath. Doing enough to last the sermon. I count the creases in the minister's shirt, trying to mimic his language without swallowing his words. Verse after verse, we follow him down passages, learning to run a marathon by his stolen books. I made a list of people to thank for noticing the differences between my eyelids and my lips when I sing about God. Face falling out of pocket as I nod in disagreement, scrambling my tenses, I do and did believe. Thank you. That is poem number 2, Singing to the Choir. And I've had it's been a very interesting period to be writing in, because although you feel like there's loads of time to write, the environment around you doesn't always sort of speak or encourage that. But I've been very fortunate of being part of a group of poets, Meg Baxter, Roisin's brother, and Harula Lad, helped out by Chris White and Live Talk. So it was a Sport Cup project. So we were able to play around and create words. And that opened the door for me to be able to create more poetry. So I'm very grateful for opportunities like that. And the Boat Poets as well, which is tied to that residency I had with SS Great Britain. So this year I wrote a poem while I was writing around water, about water, and trying to draw that connection between where my life and the water connect and kind of make sense. So it goes exactly like this. I am a fisherman's son without his rod and rowboat, bloating up banks with indecision. Sink, swim, or sit in Avon's mouth. I am a whole body short of sentences, gurgling Mutipula's language with expensive English. This is England. This is England, and this is England. I applaud my borrowed country, archipelago cut by the coat of forgetful indiscretions. I am so at home with drowning here, dancing in the mud with my Union Jack around my shoulders, an asterisk around my body, the banner of uncommon wealth. From the Copper Belt to Emirates, Paddington to Temple Key, I have floated myself into this fog without a paddle. And Bristol wets my body with smoke and cloudy water. I have chalked on this oxbow island, a million rivers away from my father's village. I coughed all the English from my body to watch how vowels splinter into oil spills over puddles, over mispronouncing my original language. The Avon mimics Luapula as though it visited Zambia and Zambezi and took stock of how a landlocked country pronounces wet. Thank you. Poem number 2 out of the way, and that featured a few. Luapula is the province that my father's people are from. Chief Mutipula is like the cultural chief of that village, and so it was reaching back in time to kind of speak to my father's fishing people and seeing and looking at how those two worlds sit next to each other. The next one is an oldie, but I hope still a goodie. And this is directed at is speaking on the connection that we have for each other. This situation we're in has kept people separate from each other, and that importance to sort of reach out to one another. So this poem speaks to that effect. Me having that conversation with my bro, either blood brother or brother by choice, my friends. The shadows he carried round often sounded as his brothers did, cluttering the ground all around where his mother lived, pictures of his past still scattered in his teeth, so every grimace was a glance at the company he keeps. With only morsels of memories for his mates, he paced the quiet spaces that remembered his face, holding anger as a shield he would wield as he journeyed out into this world, a whirlwind of running mouths. He always hated if they stated that they could relate. The floating heads overstaying their place in his face, vocalizing and theorizing the power play, downplaying the heavy sound of sour days. He perspires through a prison of past, no last wishes to whisk him from this kingdom of glass, no one to ask about the tremors polluting his peace of mind and piecing what I believe to be a kin of my kind. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I missed you when you called me for help. Holding your health through hellfire, shouldering self, chauffeuring a shell, sheltering this story to tell, never connecting with your comfort to confine to a cell. Between the quiet and the chaos, you've cradled the crypt, slipped slowly into the same thoughts that labeled you sick, fraternizing with every skeleton you labored to keep, unable to weep. You're worried that they'll label you weak. I know these mirrors haven't managed to replicate your ambition. You face reflections, rejecting your inner mission, infecting your intuition with doubt, killing your confidence. How? Can reason conquer your drought without your conscious encounter? I've scouted sentences centered in grief and reached deep into your courage to enable your speech, leaked peace onto this table so we can eat and enable your weakening sense of self to realize that you are capable. We were brothers before the blood, brothers before the floods of fear suffocated our love, and I would love nothing more than see you rise above these jagged waves. Don't hold your faith, don't hold your tongue, hold your faith. Brother, home is where the heart is. I hope you swing by sometime. Thank you. I have 2 more poems. Hopefully we're still on time for that. One of them is another short one. And I've been part of this group called the Paperless Poetry, and we've been I've been sort of injecting prompts every day to keep us with National Poetry Writing Month, NaPoWriMo, nice and relaxed. No need to keep up with every single day, but every day gives me a chance to sit down and think. And the prompt on this day was discovery. And I was just thinking, what's one of those discoveries that has crept into my life and I've probably taken for granted? And currently my bedroom is next to a road. So when I wake up, I hear that morning traffic, apart from Easter weekend, which was brilliant. But when I was living around nature, waking up and then hearing birds, I think that's, even now that the sun's coming up, the clocks have moved around, discovering birdsong in the morning was something quite magical. And I penned this. It's like draft number 0.5. So this falls under the loosely poetry category. Okay. I feel terrible for talking about birdsong as though it was an accident, as though they weren't architects arrested by their serious business. These red-breasted nighting larks in missile willow populate my window. They are the little things that splinter sound, sow harmony into hammocks and hang in their deluge. They are the astronauts who orbit the willow trees and whistle free morning in their tin whistle dialect. I discovered the lost science of listening by watching morning blister into bird song before my feet found the coffee grounds. Thank you. Yeah, morning bird song, an absolute blessing. And well, the last poem is, I call this one Catalysis. When I thought, when I discovered reading a bit more and looking at what makes stories, I bumped into Mr. Campbell, and he was looking at what makes a story, because I wanted to know what it was about telling stories that connected everyone. And Catalysis was one of those moments when things aren't as great, things go down, but it sets us up to sort of peak back up and go. And this felt like an appropriate poem. I wrote it addressing future children that I might or might not have, and the importance of sharing resilience, grit, perseverance, and being in poetic spaces like tonight speak to how art is resilient. They told us we couldn't meet in spaces. That's fine. Give us a Zoom room, and then we'll just open up the borders. We can't be in a room together in Gloucester. That's fine. Let's open it to Northern Ireland, to the States, to Wales, Scotland. And so we created this, that resilience and that opportunity to look at something as like, okay, we can't do that. What can we do? Which is an important skill set. And very grateful for being in this space and for everyone being active participants in that level of mischief for any sort of barriers that pop up. So this will be my last poem, and this is called Catalysis. I walk knowing I'm the author of my daughter's truth. Proof to a young prince that the dark nights do fade. So I pen these prologues to be the monologues of their darkest days. Listen, show courage to your catabasis. Hammer fists will invade your vision. No pilgrimage to a pinnacle can evade derision. No pinnacles written in plagiarisms have ever risen. The road to the royal regions is often hidden. Courting the shadows is often par for course. When hallowed nights spite your might to make decisions, face into the light and fight your fear and redefine the course. Ash is necessary in raising the phoenix. Fire is fundamental in fueling the forge. The genome of a giant is graced in your helix. Patience is needed to feed that seed and impede remorse. Change is coming. You can't avoid the flex. To see tomorrow, you can't afford to avoid the step. So fortify your fortune and embrace that schism. Take your given grace and take your place in our victory song. In courting forbidden logic, I smoked unsoured strains of the sun. Lungs levied by the dialects of Horace and Young, eyes blistered by the evidence of everything new, everything now, every splinter from the oracle's tongue. She spoke reason when I couldn't see the forest for the trees. Showing the value in a notion of we, lent the lumber for the lodgings, accommodating a unity, the eulogy to the narcissistic ego controlling me. I metamorphed in a mead of megamorphine, potent nectar iller than lean, and meant to morph dreams. An ayahuasca isotope, knowledge is king. Regal cerebral needles open up in potent ravines, so I've screamed future and fratricide, killing my closest comforts and leaned into the chaos that cradles the golden compass and dreamed of holding on to my future despite these calluses. Catalyst to the crown, I cultivated in Catalysis. I walk knowing I'm the author of my daughter's truth. Proof to a young prince that the dark nights do fade, so I've penned these prologues to be the monologues of their darkest days. We must show them how to shoulder courage, how to carry a precious dream, how to persevere when the pitfalls try to pick apart their seams, and however dark it seems, our rivers of hope will flow in eternal streams. Remind them that the toughest battles are reserved for our strongest warriors. Thank you.
Please, could you all unmute and give a fabulous, fabulous applause for Saili Katebe, please. Brilliant, brilliant.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Saili. That was amazing. I think I said it was great to have a space with you and your words in it. What more could you ask for? Thank you.
Wonderful.
Woo. If you want to hear more of Saili, I happen to know that our friends stroke arrivals in Cheltenham Poetry Festival are doing quite a bit with Saili. You're doing workshops, I think, in the Cheltenham Poetry Festival. So if you're interested to see more, do hop over there and see what they're doing. It's been a wonderful night, a fabulous night. Thank you so much, Saili. Thank you so much, Carol. Thank you so much for everybody who's come. I've just got to talk about next Crafty Crows, which will be on Wednesday, the 5th of May at 7. We're going to have the features of Gemma Hathaway, another great voice, and Tish Camp will be reading with her, which is great too. So we're really looking forward to that. I don't think we've got any others because our poetry competition is finished and our Walker's slam lines have finished. I think we're slowly running down here for the summer, but we will, of course, still be trawling for poems from our GPS group page. So don't forget to post some in there if you want to have a poem in our 2021 anthology. And I think that's everything. Have I forgotten anything, Peter? Fabulous. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. Jason, you can stop recording now.